Dogman is just a legend, keep watching. From shadowy figures stalking rural backroads, from towering wolf-like creatures emerging from the tree line, these sightings have left witnesses shaken, speechless, and forever changed. Don't forget to subscribe, and let's take a look.
The Dogman print has claws and the tiger print doesn't have claws. Now remember, I am not saying that a Dogman is a cat, right? What I am saying is that its genotype is cat-based, right? What that means is, for instance, the genetics inside, his components on how he's built inside, has parts of being a cat. So, for instance, if you look at a hyena looks like a canine, has claws, right? And for the most part, it looks like a canine. Yet, a hyena is more related to a cat than a dog. That's why it's its own species, right? It's neither canine and neither it's a feline. And that's what I mean. Dogman's genotype is more related to a cat and has cat features and cat genetics, not outside overlook, like the hyena looks like a freaking canine, but on the inside, his genetics, his DNA, okay, is more resembles that of a cat. Same thing with Dogman. On top of that, if we look at the cheetah has semi-retractable claws, so his claws are out. So if you look at a cheetah running or doing whatever, or, you know, if it was in North America walking through mud, you'd also see his claws sticking out because cheetahs have semi-retractable claws, and his claws stick out of his paws. He doesn't retract them all the way in, which helps with the speed.
It's just freaking wilderness. I mean, I'm out there, y'all. So I'm on, you know, I'm in the national forest, so that's a fresh track. Right there. So we've got something.
But I mean, we've had reports of these things taking like gunfire at point blank range with like no physical effects at all. There was a lady north of us who said that these things were trying to get into her home, killed one of her dogs, supposedly. We're talking to her, and it got to a point where apparently it rammed its hand through an open window and tried to grab an uncle, and the family opened fire on it from point blank range, and nothing happened to it.
I mean, you got some encounters that they appear and they disappear right before people's eyes. They just seem to love terrifying people. They'll grin at people. And that would seem like more of a demonic manifestation to me. However, I do believe also that there's something physical in some capacity running around in the woods because, you know, we find hair samples.
Around 1 a.m., I went out to my car, and I actually forget what I was trying to get. But I heard movement on the gravel in the driveway, and it was 2 feet, and it was big. And I said, what the heck? In my head, I said, who is that? And I was like, oh, I don't know, but I'm going inside. Went back inside and didn't think to lock the door and all that, but just didn't seem right. So I went out, I got my gun, because, you know, us West Virginians, we gotta have our guns, just in case. I went out on the deck, and it wasn't there anymore where I heard it, where I thought I heard it, but it was up by the fence, and I see this. It was so quick, but it reminded me of, there was that picture, believe it or not, near the Amarillo Zoo, and it looked like a cartoon. This video of a dog man, or looked more like a fox man or coyote man, but it looked, I don't know if the legs were like that on what I seen, but I was looking from the waist up, and it had a mane, and it was like a timber wolf coyote color, and it was just prancing, but it was so quick, and I couldn't hear it. I couldn't hear it go up there. It was in the grass, and I estimated 6.5 foot to 7, around 6.5. Really, it looked like a human size height.
81-year-old woman who lived in Georgia. It was a somewhat rural area surrounding woods and such, but by no means was it the middle of nowhere, and by no means was there no one around. She did have neighbors nearby, and this woman was fairly spry for her age. She had a habit of going out in the morning to collect cans for recycling. I'm not sure if she was doing that for the money or she just liked the environment, but every morning she had a habit of going out and picking up cans. And then one morning, unfortunately, something got to her while she was out picking up these cans. She was found very badly mauled. And in this case, there was a law enforcement response, but beyond the first responders, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, rather than the federal government, was involved. It was known that they took DNA samples, they cordoned off the scene, and seemed to be paying a great deal of attention to this, much more so than if anyone had been hit by a car or some other kind of an accidental death. Natalie Adams was found in the ditch at 8:32 on a Tuesday morning. So again, we're with an early morning attack. There were no witnesses. No one saw anything. The body was very badly mutilated. We know that DNA swabs were taken, and we know that what autopsy results were released said that they believed it was caused by a dog attack and that the injuries were horrific. But beyond that, no dogs were ever caught. No one was ever charged. We have weasel words by the authorities saying autopsy results were consistent with a dog attack, but not saying it was a dog attack. In this case, the authorities put out baited traps and worked with animal control to play the usual suspects and try and round up a few dogs. Yet no one ever caught an animal that found human remains in its stomach. No one saw any dogs with blood on them. No one saw anything of that nature. We just had a woman who was going out on her daily routine, suspected nothing, and bam, something got to her. The authorities themselves, the GBI, described it as a very unusual death, to say the least. And here we have a woman who's in good shape. This shouldn't have happened to her. If the media reports say she's killed by a dog attack, yet if a number of dogs had set upon her, why did no one hear anything? Why did no one see anything? Why weren't dogs seen in the area? No sound of barking, no noise, nothing. Just an attack seemingly out of nowhere. And now we have a dead woman who was described as being shredded, being found in the ditch right off of the road she lives on, barely, I believe, was like a half mile from her own home. And then we have a lack of follow-up from law enforcement. We know the Georgia Bureau of Investigation was there, not just the county sheriff, but state law enforcement officials. And there was also rumors that the FBI was present. So if we have just something simple like a dog attack, why do we have state and federal authorities involved in taking DNA exams? Why wouldn't it be a matter just for the county sheriff? And why does no one see anything? There was evidence of a struggle found nearby. We had broken yard furniture, blood everywhere. And again, something that was to show up in many of these cases is that clothing was torn off of the victim, that the victim was found missing most of her clothes, which seems like that whatever predator this is likes to rip through or rip off clothes. And that tied me back to what I'd read before in some of the missing 411 cases in David Poli's excellent series of books that unfortunately raised more questions than it could provide any answers, that a number of times when people were found missing under mysterious circumstances and a body is later found, that they were strangely either partially or fully unclothed or missing items of clothing. It's a tragedy, especially considering that she was just going through her normal daily routine, and then apparently a predator may have been stalking her or may have been stalking the area or even laying in wait for her.
Here's another picture of just artwork of a Type 4. There, now here's one that was a photograph. This is a blown up detail of a much larger picture. And this thing was crossing, that's a fence right there. It's crossing a fence is what it's doing. We were camped in the north end. We decided we're going to go see if we can find one of these and get a picture of it.
Oh, you did. I wanted to find the Bigfoot in the north end.
Well, we had never been up there. So we go up there and we camp in the north end. First thing weird that happened, we had wolves show up.
Yep.
Red wolves showed up, tried to lure my dog out of camp. Tried to lure my German Shepherd up there to them. And if any of y'all have read Call of the Wild, they use the exact same tactics as what he described in Call of the Wild. It was absolutely amazing. All right, that happened 2 nights in a row. Then we had a quiet night. And then All right, he heard something coming down the hill right behind Bear's tent. And he sat there, and he's no further than here to the corner right there. Maybe actually no further here to that bright light right there.
Right.
And he's sitting there, and he hears steps, and he looks, and it's like Bear's tent's right there. My tent's like right here. And there's a big oak tree right beside my tent. And I have my German Shepherd Buddy in the tent with me. All right. Leonard hears footsteps going up there. He fired his camera once, and he absolutely could not believe what he saw. And what he saw was this right here, except he saw the right side of it. And he quickly shot another one. And by this time, all it did is it was walking like this, and it turned and it bared its teeth at him, and it ran in behind that oak tree that was right beside my tent. I spoil my dogs. I have a cot, and my dogs have a cot. Buddy was on his cot. Now, the dog cot is only about that far off the ground. Buddy was on his cot. He never made a sound. All of a sudden, he jumped up and trying to start burrowing under my cot. Wakes me up. Hey, what are you doing? I start trying to pull him out. I was wrestling him, and I couldn't get him out from under my cot. And he's waddling around and carrying on and whining. I said, well, all right then, just lay your down and just be still. And he hunkered down over there and didn't make a sound, didn't move. I went back to sleep. About that time, I see a flash, and I said, oh, God, Leonard's out there shooting pictures again. And then I thought I heard some movement outside my tent, and I saw two more flashes. Next morning, daylight, Leonard's gone. He goes hauling into the nearest little old town looking for a pharmacy or someplace to get those pictures developed.
One of those photo finish places.
Right. Back when you had. By the time we get our breakfast eaten, here comes Leonard back. Y'all ain't gonna believe this. You ain't gonna believe this. He had nice glossies. The first one, you could see something in it. The second one, he had a perfect full profile of that son of a gun in this position right here. You could see his hands. You could see the claws. Their hands look like raccoon hands, but with big claws on the tips. That's what's it. Knobby knuckles. Big, huge hands. You could see both of his hands. He was like this. And he had his teeth bared at Leonard. The next shot, the third shot, he was behind the oak tree next to my tent, and he was looking out at Leonard. Leonard shot him, and flashed his eyes. He turned around and hauled butt up the hill behind my tent. The fourth shot, you can see him across the back, and you can see what huge, massive muscles he's got on his back. In the fifth shot, he was just nothing but just a dark smudge on the film. All right. I'm like, yeah. I figured he might have pulled something, or I didn't know. We were starting to tear the camp down. I go up there.
We was all leaving.
And I walked around there, started to pull the tent pegs up, and my God, there were the tracks right there at the corner of my tent. And I looked, and the tracks went right up the hill. The hillside was covered with that little short green carpet moss, and everywhere that son of a gun stepped, it tore that.
Those claws
tore through that moss.
Oh wow! It scared it.
Yeah, and we backtracked them, and we found where it came down the hill, and we found where it walked right behind Bear's tent.
Yeah, nothing but a piece of fabric between me and it.
Yep.
Too many. And too many people and too vigilant.
Yeah.
Because Leonard was sitting there.
Yeah.
Yep.
They do not actually, a camera flash is a much better deterrent to them and much better protection than a gun.
Yes.
Much better. Or a real strong spotlight or flashlight. We tell everybody who goes with us, bring you a good flashlight with a minimum of 700 lumens of illumination.
Flashlights and spotlights have
Yeah.
saved my. I'm
Many
not lying.
times, many
Literally.
times. Or I used to have I still got it. I had Olympus, real nice pro-grade Olympus camera with a big tater masher. We call it big potato masher flash. And I flashed that thing right in the faces of several of them and stopped them. I mean, they'd be charging at me, coming at me at 30, 40 miles an hour. And I hit them a couple of times with that thing, and they'll slam on the brakes, throw their arm up, scream 3 or 4 times, and turn around and go back the other way.
Kind of like burning their eyes.
Yeah.
But a product called a tactical flashlight that they're now saying recommending people carry, and basically it's a very bright flashlight, but it has flashing mode.
Right. The one I carry has a strobe mode also. Yeah, they do not like that either. But we recommend a minimum of 700 lumens to stop one.
See, when they go in nocturnal mode, and then you hit them dead in the eyes, it's like we're wearing we're looking through a night vision goggles, and somebody hits you with a flashlight, it'll burn your eyes.
Yeah. Now,
I've knocked one down on his feet at Lake of the Pines in Texas that was charging us. That's the only thing that saved my life.
I'm 30 years old. I've got my wife and my daughter. Just go to work, come back home, do the family thing, and I do enjoy very much going into the woods and being able to enjoy the outdoors, being able to have respect for the animal, as well as, any type of fishing and hunting. I really enjoy. I like to be able to create memories with my family that way. Well, I live in Cato, New York. It's upstate New York, very country type setting. The house is on a road that's about 7 miles, 8 miles long, connects 2 other back roads. It was kind of stone road up until about 15 years ago, and they just started recently paving it. There's only about 5 houses on that street, and it would take about 25 minutes to be able to walk to your neighbor, 30 minutes. It's all surrounded by woods and fields. I have 192 acres out there. 50 of them are woods, and the rest of them are cornfields and other farmland that I've rented out to the farmers that live in the area in exchange for a quarter cow or a half a pig and money on an annual basis, as well as I can still hunt that land. The house is about 40 feet away from the road, and all around me on the right and left and back side is all pretty thick woods, and across the street is all very thick woods and fields. It's very quiet at night, and it would take a long time to be able to get to somebody if someone really needed some help. Pretty much out there alone. Well, this was the beginning of February, a few weeks ago. It was February 2nd, 2018. And that was definitely the day that had changed my life. I had got up in the morning and kissed my family goodbye and went to work like I normally do around 5 a.m. I had gotten a few phone calls throughout the day from my wife, and she stays home with our newborn. And I had gotten a few calls from her, and she had said, because we have some cows, some livestock, about 12 of them. And she had called me and she'd been concerned. And she had said, hey, do you know that all of the cows are huddled up in the corner closest to the house, away from the wood line? And they've been there all day. They won't eat, they won't move or anything. And I didn't pay any mind to it. I was really busy at work, and I said, don't worry about it. I'll check it out later. I'm busy right now. And I just kind of figured, all right, well, maybe, coyotes are out there messing with them again. I'll handle them later on. They are quite a nuisance around where we are. So I just had assumed at the time that that's what it was, because that's what I'm familiar with. So I didn't pay any mind to that. And I get another phone call right before I had left work. And it was my wife calling me back. And she had said, I'm not able to let the dog out. Maya won't go outside. I'm having to drag her outside by her collar to go pee. She doesn't want to go out, and I'm not sure what's going on with her. And I said, okay. I said, I'm almost home. I'll deal with it when I get home. I'm thinking that this is pretty strange now, because the animals know most of the time a lot more than, we know. And I'm thinking to myself, well, why the cows all bundled up in the corner there? Now the dog won't go outside. What's going on here? So now I'm a little bit concerned, but it's not a big deal at the moment. So I'm pulling up here, and on the left side, the cornfield's there across the street, and I just get past the hedgerow where it starts to open up on the right, where my lawn is. And we've got about 6 acres of mowed grass around our house, and the rest is fields and woods. And I see the cows, and they're scrunched up in like a 20 by 20 foot area in the closest corner of their fenced in plot. And I'm thinking to myself, what is this? And I've never seen them do this before. They were climbing up and trying to get closer and closer, huddled up into the corner. And they had popped the breaker because they kept pushing into the fence, which is an electric fence. And they each had touched it so many times, I'm not sure what had happened, but they didn't care about it. They had actually popped the breaker so there was no electricity running through the fence anymore. It may have popped a line or a wire somewhere. I'm not sure. I could see that they were scared of something. Something was going on. And at that point, I'm thinking, wow, there must be a big pack out here. I'm going to have to deal with this. So I'm looking at them scrunching them in 12 full-grown cows here in about a 20 by 20 foot circle. And I'm like, okay, definitely coyotes. So I park and I get out, I get my work stuff, and I go to walk inside. I'm walking up the front driveway, and it's dusk now. And I'm walking up, and I'll tell you, I hear the most deep but raspy, gurgly, almost scream howl. And it literally sent chills down my spine. The hair stood up on the back of my neck, and I thought, what the hell was that? And I've been in the woods since I was a kid. I've hunted and fished since I was a kid. And I've never heard anything like this. But again, going by what I know, I thought, okay, some type of coyote was attacked or some type of animal out there. Something's going on. Now, although the DEC says there's no mountain lions in our area, I know that there is. So I'm thinking, well, even though I haven't seen a mountain lion, I know that there has been some sightings around the area, very rarely. But I figured, well, maybe that's it. But something still is different because I'd even heard them on YouTube, and I know that that wasn't it. So I get inside, and my wife's jabbering a mile a minute about everything she dealt with today. And outside the phone calls that she had told me when I had left in the early morning, she said that she had heard scratching at the window. A real deep scratching noise on the side of the house, not like a branch type of scratch. And I said, what do you mean? I don't understand. And she said, come look at this. So she walks me outside, and I see deep scratches in the siding. There's 4 lines. The one on the left is the lightest, and then the one to the right of that was pretty deep. The one next to that was very deep, and the one all the way to the right was fairly deep as well. And I'm looking at this thing, and I'm like, what the hell was this? And I'm thinking to myself, what could have done that? And I'm looking around. There's no branches that would have done anything like that. And I said, did you bang into the house with anything? Did you move something up onto the deck? Because I've built a big deck that wraps around most of the house. And I said, did you move some of the chairs or lawn stuff? And she said, no. She said, I heard this, and I had come out a little while after to see it. So I said, okay, I don't know what this is. And as we're discussing this, and I'm seeing that it's really bad, we hear, as we're walking back in, this howl again, this deep, gurgly type of scream. And it just shook me to my core. And I saw my wife's eyes get huge. We exchanged glances, and I said, did you hear that? And she said, yeah. And I said, what the hell is that? She said to me, I'm not sure. And she goes, you would know better than I would. And I said, I have absolutely no clue, honey. I've never heard that noise before. And we can see all the cattle in the corner. Now they're climbing up on top of each other as that noise is being projected towards us. They hear it as well. Now all these cows are jumping on top of each other. They're pushing and pushing and pushing in the corner. They're trying to get out of this fenced-in area. And I'm thinking, oh, God, now I'm going to have to fix this fence. They're going to bust it out. So I'm thinking maybe I should move them until I find out what exactly it is that's going on here. So we walk back into the house, and we're talking about this. And we get back in, and I'm sitting to try to think what I can do about this cattle, because I'm thinking I don't want to lose all my cattle. So I load my shotgun up, and I call my neighbor, and I say, hey, Gene, I said, come on down. I said, let's go for a ride out back in the buggy. It's like a 4-wheeler RZR type thing. And I said, we'll come down, and we'll see what we can do to take care of some of these coyote, because they're a big problem out here. So he comes down. I explained to him a little bit about the situation. I say, have you heard this noise at all around here? And he says, no. And I sounded like a fool trying to explain to him that it sounded like a woman that had been smoking 30 cigarettes an hour for the last 65 years. It was deep, and it was raspy and like a woman screaming. It's difficult to explain. And, he kind of looks at me like, okay, whatever. So we load up, and I tell my wife, I said, we're going out back, and we're going to get rid of some of these coyote. And she said, okay. So we go out, and what I normally do is, with the coyote out here, I have a wireless call, which is a speaker box with a wireless remote, and you can hit different calls, which some are, for an example here, a dying rabbit or a squirrel or whatever it may be, and it brings them in. They hear that and it brings them in, and I have a spotlight that I put a red lens cover over because they can't see the color red. So we load all that stuff up, we throw it in the back, and I'm explaining to them, I said, on the way out, these cows are doing this, they're doing that, and I'm not sure what to do. So we get going down the road, and it's about probably not even a 2-minute ride down, and it's dark out now. We get down a little ways, and the dirt road's on the left, and we go to turn down my dirt road here, and we get turning down the dirt road, and I'm looking at multiple groups of deer literally breaking out of the woods and running towards us. I mean, they're headed across the street. They're coming straight at us. This dirt road is about 5 to 6 foot wide. And then on each side of the road, there's about 2 foot of brush. And then right on the other side of that is the woods on both sides. So I'm looking, and they're not in the woods. They're right on the edges of the dirt road. And these deer are flying towards us. White flags flying, tails in the air. Something's going on. And they're going by us, maybe 10 feet on each side of us here. They're not worried about us coming down in the buggy or anything. And I'm thinking to myself, are you looking at this right now? Can you see this, Gene? And his mouth kind of hanging open like that's just a strange thing to see, them coming right at us. And there was about 3 or 4 groups of 2 to 4 deer, about 25, 30 feet apart. And they're all just coming flying at us. And I'm thinking, wow, there must be a big pack out here. We're really going to have to do some work. So we get going down the dirt road. The deer pass us. And I knew something was wrong. So I said, if you see anything before we get down there on the way, I said, shoot what you see. And we get going about a half mile down the road, and I'm doing about 45 now down this dirt trail. And as we're getting in, we're about 2 miles or so into the woods now. And it's all woods around me. It's dark out. And I hear something smashing like it's some type of rhino in the woods next to us. And I'm just buzzing along, and I'm thinking to myself, we've got no bears or moose in this area. And I said, what the hell is that? So I start to slow down, and I stop, and the buggy's just idling. And I get the worst feeling of my life, like somebody's watching me. Something is watching me right now. And I'm getting goosebumps everywhere. The hair stands up on the back of my neck. And Gene's voice is real shaky. And he says to me, we need to leave right now. Something's not right. And it is dead quiet. There's no sound, no animals, no nothing. And I kind of try to keep my cool, even though I feel it. And I said, don't get all scary on me here. We got firearms. Just relax. Thinking to myself, there's nothing in the woods here that I haven't seen in the past 30 years. No way. So we sit for another maybe 20 seconds. And I shut the buggy off now. So there's no more idle. And I hear this heavy, heavy breathing. The trail is about roadside, like I said. Wood line on about 6 to 8 feet of each side of us. And we're sitting about 2 miles in the woods now. Complete darkness. Just the lights on in front of the buggy. And they said, dude, do you hear that? And I reached over with my spotlight, and I pull it up. I pull the red lens cover off. And as I go over to shine this, and I said, point your gun over here. And he's got it up. Now, what I'm about to tell you here is where everybody has put me down, and I feel has ruined my reputation for being honest and true in every sense. But that doesn't embarrass me because we know what we saw. Now, I pulled that spotlight up thick, and I scanned the first few feet heading into the woods. And I got to the general area where I heard that breathing. Now, this is a 1,000,000 candlelight spotlight, and it's very bright. It's got like an 8 or 10 inch head on it, and it's got the trigger on it you hold up. And I get to the general area where I had heard that heavy breathing, and I look in, and I see some type of hairy animal, and I can see that it's got its arm around a tree a little bit. And I'm thinking to myself, whoa, what the hell is that? And its see ears, pointy ears that looked like some type of daggers, about 8 inches, maybe 10 inches on the top of its head. And as I am shining the light, I hit the top and I see like this, whatever this thing is, it turns and steps away a little bit from the tree. And I can't believe what I'm seeing. This thing had a snout like the most stereotypical werewolf. That's all I thought. This is a werewolf. But my brain isn't working properly because I'm thinking to myself, this isn't real. There's no way that I'm seeing this creature here. This looks like, if you've ever seen the movie Van Helsing, it looks like that exact werewolf, almost 98% similar. Okay? And now I can hear my heartbeat in my ears. It is all quiet around us, other than this breathing from this creature I'm looking at, and I'm just completely shook to my core. I've never seen anything like this in my life. This isn't supposed to be real. This isn't a real creature. There's no way that I'm looking at this. I'm staring at this thing, not knowing how much time has gone by. And it turns a little more, and I see its eyes. Now, its eyes were like a bright, if you held a Corona up to the sunlight, that's what this thing's eyes looked like a goldish amber color. And it turns, and I see its snout. It looks like a dog snout, but it's got a massive head. And I'm talking, I can see its arm a little bit, but just its hand. And I'm trying to rack through my brain, and I'm seeing all of these things kind of at once, and they're not making any sense to me. It's got a huge head. The hair on it is like this short kind of, it's not shaggy. I can almost see its skin underneath. But I'm noticing that this thing's got bright gold eyes, pointy dog ears, and a snout like some type of canine creature. That's when I am trying to process all this, and it seemed like 20 minutes. I don't know exactly how long it was, but all of a sudden James screamed real loud, and that scared me even more. And at that point, that broke the silence, and this thing stepped away from the tree it was up against, and I couldn't believe what I saw. This thing, it was making some type of cracking noise, like if you had 15, 20 people together cracking their knuckles in a microphone on a loudspeaker, and bones were breaking inside of somebody's body. This thing stands up. Its back legs, it has haunches like a dog. Okay? This thing is almost 8 foot, 9 foot tall. This thing is so big, at 15, maybe 18 feet away, I can see this thing clear as day. There is no question. My spotlight is on this thing, and it's fully charged, brighter than ever. I couldn't believe what I'm seeing. Its chest looked like some type of world record bodybuilder. This thing was jacked. Its arms from the shoulder to the elbow looked like a normal length, but the length from the elbow to the wrist were extra long, almost twice as long as the top part. This thing had 5 fingers with nails on them, sharp nails that looked like black knives on the tip of its fingers, a couple inches long. It just had these big hands, and it's not processing with me. I didn't understand what it is that I'm looking at here. I can see it's jacked. It's massive chest, huge arms, I mean ripped. It's got abs like some 30-year-old at a gym. Its waist seemed to be fitting, I guess you could say. It was smaller, and its legs were pretty jacked, but they were skinny, and it had its legs bent backwards like a dog. But I'm so confused. I'm looking at the werewolf thing, and it's standing up on 2 legs. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. And the cracking sound that I'm hearing when this thing stood all the way up, I didn't understand what's making that noise. And I know it wasn't branches breaking, because I heard the branches breaking on the way down. And as this thing is breathing heavily, which I'm assuming it's breathing heavily because of it keeping up with us in the woods at 40 miles an hour, going down next to us, just smashing through things. And I'm not talking twigs and sticks here. Like, these are big branches this thing is just barreling through.
So he screams. I'm taking the inventory of what it is that I'm looking at here, and I am just completely blown away. The most fearful I have ever been in my entire life. It just, I thought I'm in a nightmare. I tried to close my eyes and shake my head and wake up, and it was still there. It was real. And I'm thinking to myself, what's my next move? There's no way that this is happening. I can't understand or fathom or process what this creature is that I'm looking at. So Gene screams, I'm looking at this thing, and at that point, I didn't even know what to do. I was stuck. So it stands up, and I see its arms hanging down in front of it, and I just didn't know what to do at that point. And the only thing that broke the silence at that point was that scream, and Gene fires 3 shots in a row at this thing. Now, this is a Remington 875 shot pump. Okay? High brass slugs. He's shooting out of this thing at 15 to 18 feet away. He fires the first one, and at this point, my ears are ringing because he's right next to me. We're in somewhat of an enclosed vehicle, but I got the spotlight on this creature still, and I see this first bullet hit its chest. It rips the whole right side pectoral muscle almost off of this thing. I can see it rip the skin. I can see the blood. This thing is real. It is a creature. It does bleed. I could see that the whole right pectoral muscle was completely almost torn off of its body. Pieces were hanging down. And this thing lets out a scream, and at that point, he had fired 2 more shots right away afterwards, but this thing was fast. This thing was real fast. So the 3 shots in a row, after the first bullet hits his chest and rips the skin and the pectoral muscle, this thing jumped, okay? No exaggeration. This thing jumped clear 15 feet up into the tree, okay, and almost 30 feet across the dirt road into the other side of the woods. As it goes across, okay, I can see from what little moonlight that we have. Now, the buggy lights are on in the front, but I didn't move my spotlight with the creature because he did it so fast. But as it gets and jumps across the way here right in front of us, I can get a good look at this thing all the way compared to other things around it now. And I see that this is a dog head with a bodybuilder's chest, arms. I mean, this thing is huge. It's 8 or 9 foot plus now that I can compare it to the things around it. I couldn't believe it. It looked pretend. It looked like, I can't even explain. Terrified at this point. I didn't know what to do, but the shotgun and him jumping completely broke me out of this trance that I was in of being a complete fool and sitting there not knowing what to do next. So I start the buggy up. I crank the wheels all the way to the left. The back tires are spinning, throwing dirt behind me. This thing is to the floor. I get it spun right around, and I'm headed to the road. And I'm screaming, Gene, what the heck was that? And he's screaming, my gun's jammed, my gun's jammed. And I'm looking over at the shotgun, and I'm looking forward, looking over the shotgun, looking forward, and I'm screaming at him to hurry up, get it loaded, get it loaded. I don't know where this thing is. I don't know when it's coming back. I'm trying to reach down for my pistol, and I'm reaching, but it's bouncing around on the floor somewhere because this dirt road's got little stones in it, and it's bumps, and the water knocks out of a bunch of the dirt, so there's divots everywhere. There's mud holes as you get down into there, and we're 2 miles. We're 2 miles into the woods now, and it's dark. There's nothing else around us. We are, and in my perspective, we're a long way from home, and the gun that he has next to him is jammed, and I'm not sure what our next move is. The only thing I could do was keep my foot on that gas. I see Gene look up, and he looks by me. Man. I look to the left side where he's looking out my window on the driver's side, and I'm doing about 50 at this point. I look out the left-hand side next to us, about 2 foot next to me. I see this creature. It's running right next to us. This thing is on 2 legs, running directly next to us, on its back haunches like a dog. Its arms are hanging in front of it like it's going to tackle something, like it's about to fall, but it's got its arms in front of us hanging down, and it's running next to me. I can hear its feet hitting the ground, even with this vehicle that we're in, to the floor. I can hear it boom, 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 just taking big strides right next to us. And it's got its head down a little ways. Now, this buggy is about 5.5 foot tall. This thing is hunched over, almost leaning forward like it's going to fall. But it wasn't. I could see now all the little teeny creases of its muscles that are in its body, on its body. I could see the hairs were blackish gray, and they were thin enough to be able to see that it did have skin underneath. And this thing was so ripped. I see its abs contracting and getting loose again as it breathes running next to me. I can see its muscles get tight in its legs because they're right where my face is. I look out and look back, and I am completely terrified. At this point, I can't even make a sound. I can't scream or even, I can't get any words out. I can't believe that this thing's running next to us at a full sprint. I mean, I don't personally know if it was at a full sprint, but I had this thing to the floor and it was standing right next to us. Leaning down, looking into the window, I see its eyes. And again, they're these amber colored looking eyes. And I was more terrified than I could ever dream of in my life. And I'm trying to get this thing moving as quick as possible. Gene's staring at this thing, and all the color drained right out of his face. I'm sure mine did as well. And I'm just looking forward, looking over. I'm hoping that he loads this thing up. I've got one arm on the steering wheel and one hand down now, trying to find what it is that's going on. And I crank the wheel to the right to try to move further away from this thing. This thing puts its arm out. Now I can see its hand, clear daylight, so to speak, with the front two lights of the buggy shining straight on this thing. Its hand is massive. It has 5 fingers and these black, long, sharp nails. It's got its hand, puts it right on the driver's side light, and I feel the buggy starting to slow down. And I'm thinking to myself, no way. This thing had the intelligence to put its hand in front of the vehicle, put it on the vehicle I was in, and put its hand on the light. And I remember looking forward, and I could see the light completely cut off the whole left side of the trail, because the only thing that we've got for light right now is the 2 front lights pointing forward, and it is dark as hell. See this hand in front of me holding its back. I feel the buggy slowing down, and I look back over at him, and as I can see it, he's looking in, and I see his teeth. They are so sharp, unlike a dog's that would be rounded at the end. These are sharp, and I'm talking serious sharp. I can hear them. He's chomping down repetitively. Boom, 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 boom. And I can see that every time he chomps down, I can hear it next to me. Boom, boom, boom. And I'm looking over at him, looking forward, looking over, looking forward. He got his hand on the front. This vehicle's slowing down. I got it all the way to the floor. I could feel the vehicle slow, and I could hear the weight and the strain on the motor as I'm trying to push forward. This thing's maybe 150 horsepower. It's not much. But I can feel it slowing down, and I'm getting real scared now. And I see this thing, and this sounds insane. This creature, as it's looking inside of the vehicle, with its hand on my vehicle, both of us are in there, slowing down. I thought, this is it. We're done. It smiles. Its lips curl up on the side, and it smiles. And I am just in complete fear, shook to my core. I have absolutely no clue what to do. I felt like it had taken everything from me that I've ever known to be good and true, and it had completely smashed it to the ground. This thing's aura, its whole demeanor, it was just the most evil thing I've ever felt in my life. It projected this level of being emotionally distraught and just completely terrified, worse than if it was the end of the world or you'd lost your entire family or anything. It was, I don't understand how it was able to make me feel that way, but it was beyond fright. It was beyond being terrified. It completely drained my soul. This thing was beyond evil. And I see this smile, and I mean, at this point, there's nothing I'm not going to believe, because I'm where I am right now. Everything starts flashing through my head. This is the end of my life. I'm thinking to myself, my whole life is literally flashing in my head. Boom, 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 boom. Different things. And when they say your life flashes before your eyes, it really does. And I wasn't able to even do anything. It's just, I'm looking forward, trying to drive, looking at this creature, and I didn't know what else I was supposed to do. I'm thinking about my baby girl, and I'm thinking about my wife, and what's going to happen? How are they going to find me? How are they going to provide? My daughter and my wife have to grow up without anybody around. What's the story that's going to be told? Accident in the woods? Vehicle accident? I know it's not going to say huge freaking wolf man attacks guys in woods. We both know it's not going to say that. So I'm racking my brain here, and I am completely distraught. And all of a sudden, I hear boom. And at the same time, I see Gene has the shotgun pointed in front of my face. Now, we're sitting side by side going forward towards the road in the woods. He reaches to his left and points the gun. The barrel's directly in front of me, but I'm looking forward. So it's about to shoot to the left where this creature is. And as soon as he pulled it up, I see this thing disappear out from next to me. And he still fires, but he had missed it. My ears are ringing. I see this thing, he's gone. How does this creature have the intelligence to be able to completely stop? That it saw that gun was pulled up. It knows what it did to it. I could see it ripped up, its chest ripped up again when it was running next to us. It knows what the consequences are from the end of that barrel. Because just prior, it had felt that. It knows. And when that firearm got held up, this thing let go of the front of the vehicle. I felt the strain and the load be taken off the motor. We speed back up, and this thing's gone.
Pay attention to those areas right there. Because after it walks through the trees like it, right there, it walks out of that clearing. So there's me zooming in. But people couldn't see that, so I zoomed in even more right here. But it was moving faster than that. That's slowed down. Watch the dogs right here. They kept looking up. See that up in the clearing right there? I caught that later. And so I zoomed in on that.
I'm just going to show y'all what happened. Look at these scratch marks on my tank. Look at these. Those are claws going down like that on the hood of my car. And you hear the noise it's making. Those are deep grooves. Those are grooves in the car, but they're claw marks. And then it's here. It's genuine werewolf hair. 100% from where I hit it. You gonna laugh, you can call me crazy. I'm telling you what I saw. It wasn't gigantic, but it was double the size of a Doberman Pinscher and a canid. It was a wolf. It was a big old stinking wolf, as John Witherspoon would say. But look at that fur. I'm trying to tell y'all what I hit. And I hear it, and it just run in the car, but it tried to hold on to the car against. You can see right here where the impact is. You'll see where it tried to grab the car.
They're not men. They're not dogs. They're the ultimate predator. There's something in between. Fast, fierce, and deadly. For years, there have been reports of sightings and encounters in our national parks and national forests. What are they? They've got many names. Cynocephaly, wolfman, werewolf, and most recently, Dogman.
Thank you for watching. If these Dogman encounters sent a chill down your spine, make sure to subscribe and drop your thoughts in the comments below. As always, stay safe, stay aware, question everything, and remember, out there in those woods, something might be watching.